Hey, good evening, everyone. Let's go. Gemara Rosh Hashana, Daf Lamed Daled Amud Aleph 34a1. We're gonna review a little bit of what we did in the last shiur, just to give ourselves a running start. It's 34a1 in the art scroll, the first break on the right side of V'haytana Maitila V'gzera Shalom Midbar. We're gonna go through that, give ourselves a running start. We have a little bit more than a daf to go to the end of the Masechet. My goal tonight is to try to cover a lot of ground so that hopefully we could finish next week. If not next week, then we might need one more after that, but that's the goal. So tonight we're going to try to cover ground. Before we get into it, there is just a quick reminder, and I'm going to share screen as I do this. Quick reminder of something we spoke about in last week's class is here. You can see the screen where we said there was a question of what's the source that you have to do a tikiyah before and after every teruah. What's the source they have to do a tikiyah before and after every teruah? The answer is from Yovel. It says the word v'ha'avarta shofar, and then it says v'ha'avarta shofar teruah, and then it says ta'aviru shofar. It says the word teruah, and sandwiching the word teruah, it says before v'ha'avarta, which means you should come to pass, you should pass, and ta'aviru shofar means you should pass the shofar. So this is the way the Gemara made the drasha last time. You have to do a teruah. And then you have to, it says v'ha'avarta before, v'ha'avarta after, coming to teach you that you need to have a simple sound that's coming to pass before and a simple sound that's coming to the afterwards. And then the word teruah, and this is all taught by Yovel, not by Rosh Hashana. How do you extend it from Yovel to Rosh Hashana? The answer is the word Shavi'i is used there, b'chodesh HaShavi'i. So either it's a Gezerah Shavah, that it's the 7th month said by Yovel and the 7th month said by Rosh Hashana, or it's a Hekesh, but whatever it is, there's a connection between Yovel and Rosh Hashana because of the word Shavi'i, the 7th month. So then what we say is, whatever is done in the 7th month is done anytime you're blowing the shofar in the 7th month. So just as you need to have a tikiyah before and after for Yovel, you also have to have a tikiyah before and after for Rosh Hashana, okay? Now, how many teruot do you need? We said 3. Why? Because the Torah says, Shabbaton zichron teruah, Yom teruah, ve'avarta shofar teruah. It says the teruah 3 times when it comes to blowing the shofar in the 7th month of the year, twice by Rosh Hashanah, once by Yovel. You have the Hekesh or the Gezerah Shavah combining it, and then what we say is you have to blow the shofar 3 times. So this is how the formula works. You have to blow the shofar 3 times. That's what teruah is. And then by Yovel, we also learn that you do a tikiyah before and after, because this is v'ha'avarta before, v'ha'avarta after. So you end up with a total of, how many is that? You have to do a teruah 3 times, and every time it has to have a tikiyah before and after. So how many total blasts is that? 9. Very good. Okay? And this is all from the Torah. This is what one opinion said. So if I ask you, how do you know that you have to blow the shofar 3 times? If in one word, what could you answer me? Connection with Yovel. Very good. How do you know you need to have a tikiyah before and after? Connection to Yovel. Because it says ta'aviru. Now, this is all Tana number 1. There is a second opinion, Tana number 2, which we started to do last time, and we're going to do it again. Let me show it to you on the screen, then we'll read it inside. Tana number 2 says, it's not from the Yovel story. It's from the trumpets in the Midbar. Parashat Bahalotzcha tells us that they would blow the trumpets when they were traveling. They would blow the trumpets when they would stop traveling. They would blow the trumpets when it was time of war. They would blow the trumpets when they wanted everyone to gather because they had an announcement. The trumpets was their way of making announcements, making calls, giving directions. Okay? Now, when it's giving those directions, how do you know that you have to do a tikiyah before and after? Because it uses the word utka'atem teruah, and then on the second time it says teruah yitkeu. It uses the word tikiyah before, and it uses the word tikiyah after. So from there you learn that you have to do a tikiyah before and a tikiyah after your teruot. The Gemara said, how do you know? The Gemara, we're going to read it right now. The sound of tikiyah and the sound of teruah are distinct. Okay? So you know that you have to do a tikiyah before, tikiyah after. So what we're introducing now is there are rules of Tekiyah before and Tekiyah after. You have one of 2 places that you can learn it from. You could either learn it from Yovel. You have to somehow connect to Yovel. How do you connect Rosh Hashanah to Yovel? through no Shavi'i. Okay, so up here you could see we know the source of Tekiyah before and Tekiyah after is you learn it from Yovel. You need to connect Rosh Hashanah to Yovel. You do that through Shavi'i. But the second opinion says that you connect it to the trumpets of the Midbar, because you have Utkatem Teruah and Teruah Yitkeu. So you learn that Tekiyah before and after. How do you connect Rosh Hashanah to the trumpets of the Midbar? Through a Gezerah Shava of Teruah. So you're either using the word Shavi'i to connect to Yovel, or you're using the word Teruah to connect to the Midbar. Okay? Very good. Now let's read it inside. That was a pretty good background on where we were. Now we're going to pick up 34a1 from the break, or right here on the screen. The second opinion actually learns that you need to do a Tekiyah before and after by getting a Gezerah Shava from the desert. The Tanya, we learned in the Braita. We just saw this. We're going to see it inside. Utkatem Teruah. It says Tekiyah Teruah. Utkatem Teruah. Tekiyah b'fnei atzma or teruah b'fnei atzma. That means that tekiyah and teruah are two distinct types of sounds. Ata omer tekiyah b'fnei atzma or teruah b'fnei atzma. You're saying it's two different sounds. O eino ela tekiyah or teruah achati. Maybe it's only one sound. Maybe the pasuk when it says utkatem teruah, it's just telling you should blow the teruah, meaning one of them is a verb telling you to do the teruah. How do you know it's two distinct sounds? Here's how you know. Because when it's giving you instructions on how to gather and assemble the people, when you're gathering the people, you should only do tekiyot. Don't do teruot. What does that mean? The two distinct types of sounds. So now that you know that those two things are different, how do you know that you have to have a tekiyah before the teruah? Teruah. First you do a tekiyah, then you do a teruah. How do I know that you have to do a tekiyah after you do the teruah? Teruah yitkeu. It says teruah first and then yitkeu second. So you learn from here that you need to have teruah before it has a tekiyah and after it has a tekiyah. Now, on the back half, there's a machloket, but it's not so important for the whole flow. But let me show it to you. Rabbi Shimon ben Oshel, Rabbi Yochanan ben Merakah Omer, he says, actually, the fact that you have to do tekiyah afterwards, eno tzarich. I don't need to learn it out from this pasuk of teruah yitkeu. I can learn it from another thing that's a lot simpler. Harehu Omer utkatem teruah shenit. Go back to that first line. You see this first line? When he says utkatem teruah, that teaches me I should do a tekiyah before. The next word is shenit, a second time. He says you could learn all out from that same phrase. You didn't need to tell me a second time. I know that it's a second time. When you read the flow, it says that it's a second time. Why did you need to say a second time? It's giving you a precedent. It's giving you a rule. Anytime there is a teruah, there should be a tekiyah secondary to it after it. So there's two ways of learning the second tikiyah, but at the end of the day, you're learning it out from the desert. But this only applies to the desert. How do you know this applies to Rosh Hashana? The Rosh Hashana minayin tamulomar teruah legzira shava. I am connecting the word teruah from here. There's a word teruah used by Rosh Hashana, gezira shava. Just as by the midbar with the trumpets, you have to do a tekiyah before and after, so too by Rosh Hashanah, you have to do a tekiyah before and after. Everyone with me so far?
Question wasn't, how do you know we do it in desert? Like maybe in Eretz Yisrael proper, we stop doing it like that. Isn't that the question?
No, the question is, when the Torah is teaching you about how they would blow the trumpets in the desert, we first do analysis and we say based on the terminology of utkatem, teruah, shanit, tikiyah, tariu, or tariu, etc. By saying those words, we learn that in the desert, the way they would do it was tikiyah, teruah, tikiyah. But that's only by them traveling in the desert. What does that have to do with Rosh Hashanah? Here's because it uses the word teruah there, and it uses the word teruah by Rosh Hashanah. You have a gezerah shava, just as teruah of the midbar when they're traveling has tekiyah, teruah, tekiyah. So too Rosh Hashanah has teruah, tekiyah, teruah, tekiyah. Okay, good. Guys, whoever walked in late, look at the board very quickly. Okay, I went through this, but I'll do this again for your benefit. There's two opinions as to where we learn the sandwiching effect. What do I mean by the sandwiching effect? You have a teruah, it gets sandwiched with a tikiyah before it, tikiyah after it. How do you know? You're either learning that from the Yovel. By the Yovel, it says the word teruah. The word teruah is sandwiched by ta'aviru, ta'aviru. And we learn that that means tikiyah, tikiyah. That's done by Yovel, not by Rosh Hashana. So if it's done by Yovel, why do you apply that to your Mitzvah Rosh Hashana? The answer is because of a Gezerah Shava, the word Shevi'i is used there. The word Shevi'i is used by Rosh Hashana. So you now have built a connection between Yovel and Rosh Hashana. By Yovel, you have the sandwiching effect because it says Ta'aviru, Teruah, Ta'aviru. So that's sandwiching. Connected to Rosh Hashana. So now Rosh Hashana, you need to do Tikiyah, Teruah, Tikiyah. That's the first opinion. Second opinion, you're learning it from the Midbar. They used to blow the trumpets in the Midbar when they would travel or when they would gather people. And over there, we learned it out that it would be Tikiyah, Teruah, Tikiyah. The Psukim, we just learned it out. Tikiyah, Teruah, Tikiyah. That's only by how they would travel in the desert. How do you connect that to Rosh Hashanah? The answer is there's a linking mechanism called a Gezerah Shava, the word Teruah. The word Teruah is used by the trumpets of the desert. The word Teruah is used by Rosh Hashanah. So you have a connection. Just as by the Midbar, it would be Tekiyah, Teruah, Tekiyah. So too by Rosh Hashanah, it would be Tekiyah, Teruah, Tekiyah. That's where we're up to so far. Now what we're going to do is, we just concluded that you have this sandwiching mechanism. Tekiyah, Teruah, Tekiyah. But now the next stage is to learn that you need to do it 3 times each. You need to do Tekiyah, Teruah, Tekiyah, Tekiyah, Teruah, Tekiyah, Tekiyah, Teruah, Tekiyah. How do you know? Well, we already learned on the Yovel side, on the left side of my, left side or right side? For you, it's the right side. The Tana number 1 over here, we already learned that it uses the word Teruah 3 times. Shabbaton zichron Teruah, Yom Teruah, ve'avarta Shofar Teruah. It says it 3 times. It's all connected. You have to do 3 Teruot. Now let's get to the right side. That's what we're going to do now. According to the one of the desert, how do you know you have to do it 3 times? V'shalosh teruot ne'emru b'Rosh Hashana. There are 3 times that you have to blow the shofar with Rosh Hashana. Shabbaton zichron teruah, same 3 psukim. Yom teruah yelachem, ve'avarta shofar teruah. Uses the word teruah 3 times. Shtei tikiyot l'chol achat ve'achat. You need to have 2 tikiyot for every teruah, right? Why? Come on, use my words. Right, or the sandwiching, right? Actually, in this opinion, we're in the Midbar, but it's the point is that you have the sandwiching. So you have 3 teruot, each one has 2 tekiyot. Matzirun l'medim. So now the Gemara does the math for you. That ends up with shalosh teruot, v'shesh tekiyot. You have 3 teruot, which is in the middle, and 6 tekiyot. Ne'emru b'Rosh Hashana. That's top for you for Rosh Hashanah. Shetayim midivrei Torah. 2 of them are required from the Torah. Ve'achat midivrei sofrim, and 1 of them is rabbinic. Why? The answer is because, how do you know you have to do 3 teruot? Because it uses the word teruah, teruah, teruah. But you need 1 of these, according to this opinion, to do something else. For the Gezerah Shava, to do what? To link you to the Midbar. Right? Look at the screen again. It says Shabbaton zichron teruah, Yom Teruah, ve'avarta Shofar Teruah. I would say that I have to do it 3 times. However, how does this opinion link Rosh Hashanah to the Midbar? Because it says the word Teruah, Teruah, and that's my Gezerah Shava. So 1 of these 3 is actually linking me to the trumpets of the Midbar. So that means there's only 2 left that I could learn from. So that means from the Torah, according to this opinion, you would only have to blow the shofar twice with a tikiyah before and after. So that's why it says 2 from the Torah and 1 from the Sofrim, which is the rabbinically at that time. Okay? Shabbaton zichron teruah ve'avarta shofar teruah. 2 of those psukim midivrei Torah from the Torah. Yom teruah yelachem. But the 3rd pasuk, the Talmudohu ba, it is coming to connect me to the Midbar. so that I could learn from the midbar. Just as in the midbar I have the sandwiching effect, so too by Rosh Hashanah I have the sandwiching effect. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rabbi Yonatan, this opinion says, Achat midivrei Torah. No, really from the Torah you only have to blow the shofar once. Why? Ushtayim midivrei Torah, and two are from rabbinically. Why? Shofar TERUAH. The fact that it says you have to blow the shofar TERUAH, that's from midivrei Torah. However, the other two, Shabbaton Zichron TERUAH, Yom Torah Yelachem, the Talmud Uba, is coming to teach you something else. One of them is coming to teach you the Gezerah Shavah. What's the other one coming to do? What is this second item that is coming to teach you? When it says Yom Teruah Yelachem, it's mibayile bayom lo balayla. You have to blow the shofar in the day and not in the night. So I hope you see the flow. Again, look at the flow on the screen. You're either learning it from Yovel or you're learning it from trumpets. To get to Yovel, your Gezerah Shavah is using the word Shevi'i. You're not using up one of your teruahs. Because the way you have to blow three is because it uses the word teruah 3 times, as you could see in the cell. Teruah, teruah, teruah. It says the word teruah 3 times. Your Gezerah Shavah, your linking mechanism is the word Shevi'i. But when you're connecting to the midbar, your linking mechanism is the word teruah. So the fact that it says the word TERUAH 3 times in the Torah, well, one of them is linking me to the midbar to teach me I have to do the sandwiching, to do tekiyah before and after. So I'm only left with 2 teruah. That means you only have to blow the shofar twice. Yeah, you have the linking mechanism, which means you do tekiyah before and after. So, but that's why you say 2 is from the Torah and 1 is from the Sofrim. Now, another opinion says, no, actually one of these teruahs I need for another reason. What is that? Because it says Yom Teruah. Bayom velo belayla. It's coming. This second line, you can't use it to teach you have to blow the shofar. It's teaching you when you can blow the shofar, which is in the day and not the night. So it ends up one of them you're using to connect. It went to Chabad shofar, teaching me about the shofar. Yeah, wait, I got it. Don't worry. So the first teruah is telling you blow the shofar. The second one is connecting it to midbar to teach you how to do tekiyah before and after. And the third one is the Yom Teruah is teaching you when you have to do it. So according to this opinion, you only have to blow the shofar once from the Torah. The rabbis added 2. Okay? This is like a maze. But that's why when I put this on the chart, it's important to see how there's 2 separate things going on here. Because we're not done. Okay? Now the Gemara is going to say, hold on a second. According to this side that says, you learn from Yom Teruah that it has to be during the day. So the one on the left here, he's not learning that out from the fact that it says Yom Teruah that it has to be during the day. Does he say you could do it at night? Because he's saying, I have 2 teruahs. One of them is to link. The other 2 is to teach me the blow shofar. The other one says, no. You need that Yom Teruah to teach you. You could only do it during the day. So what does he learn? So now I'll expand it. I continued with the charts. So 2 for the Torah, 1 for the Divrei Sofrim. The third verse is for the Gezerah Shavah. 1 for the Torah and 2 from the Divrei Sofrim. The second verse is for the day and not the night. So how does this opinion learn the day and not the light? So let's see it in the Gemara. Ve'idach, that other opinion, Bayom velo balayla minale. How does he know that you could only blow the shofar the day and not the night? Nafkale mi beyom kippurim. You know why? Because in the section of the Yovel, it says you blow the shofar in beyom kippurim. So there it says yom. So I don't need to learn yom from Yom Teruah, which would then disqualify one of my 3 sources of blowing the shofar. It would disqualify that. It would be using it up with somewhere else. I'm going to actually learn it from the fact that it says Yom Kippurim. Okay? What's the problem with this answer? The answer is, and this is why it was very helpful for me to view it like this. If you're saying Yom Kippurim from Yovel, alo, Yovel is the other opinion. This opinion here is working with the midbar. You're now leaning over to your friend's plate, and he used the word Shevi'i for a Gezerah Shavah. Now you're leaning over and saying, hey, your Gezerah Shavah that you used to connect to Yom Kippur, I'm gonna tag along so that I can learn that it's the day and not the night. Hold on a second. If you can somehow connect to Yom Kippur because you're using your friends Shavi'i, so you're connecting it, then what do you even need this Teruah Gzerah Shava for? You're not learning from the trumpets anymore. Learn it out from there, right? Because remember, this opinion here is saying the sandwiching effect. The fact that you do Tekiyah, Torah Tekiyah, you learn it from the Midbar. But how do you learn only from the day from Yovel? Okay, if you're learning from the Yovel, so just learn the sandwiching effect from the Yovel. That'll free up one of your teruahs. Then you have to do 3 from the Torah. So let's see what he says. If you're going to learn Yom Kippur, once you're leaning over and connecting yourself to the Yovel, so just like your friend did, why don't you learn the fact that you do the sandwiching, the tekiyah before and after, from the Yovel? You know why? Because because he doesn't like how he learns out the sandwiching. What does he say? He says, it says the word ta'aviru before and the word ta'aviru after. That doesn't mean to do a tekiyah before and after. What is the source of the one that says from the Midbar? You know what its source is? It says utka'atem teruah. It uses the word tekiyah, then it uses the word teruah. That's a source. That's a source to do tekiyah then teruah. And then it says teruah yitkeu. It says you should do teruah then a tekiyah. That's a source. What are you saying? It says the word ta'aviru, so that means to do a tekiyah before. I don't like the way you're learning it out. So if I were thinking it through, your teaching doesn't teach me that I have to do tekiyah before and after. Lo mashmalu. So elamai darshibihu. Okay, so then what do you understand the word v'ha'avarta and ta'aviru to mean? V'ha'avarta k'de Rav Matna. I learned it the way Rav Matna teaches. Dama Rav Matna v'ha'avarta derech ha'avarato. Rav Matna teaches us that the word v'ha'avarta means the same way the shofar comes to pass is the same way that the sound has to pass through. Meaning, if somehow someone can invert the shofar and blow out of the big side, or flip it inside out. Basically, they make the big side smaller and the small side bigger, and you blow the shofar the opposite way, it doesn't work. Why? Because the Torah says, "V'ha'avarta derech ha'avarato," the way that it grew. The way that it grew is the end starts first, and then every year it grows. So the end is the oldest. That's where the sound has to originate. Okay, so he says that it has to be done in the proper direction. That's what you learn from V'ha'avarta. Don't say that it means you need to do tikiyah before. So even though I could lean over and connect to Yovel, I would on the midbar side, when I'm on the midbar side over here, and I wrote it out. How does this opinion learn day and not the night from Yom Kippur? Once you connect to Yovel, then why don't you learn the tikiyah from Yovel also? He, like Rav Manna, learns something else from the words. V'ha'avarta, you cannot flip the shofar. Okay? And now, the next words of ta'aviru, dika'amar Rachmana, na'abere biyad. He says ta'aviru, the way Rashi explains, is that ta'aviru means that you have to carry it with your hand. Let us merely carry the shofar by hand throughout the land, rather than sounding it. I actually don't like the way Rashi explains it is that you have to hold the shofar as you're blowing it. Rashi says, but if you had the shofar on a table or somehow suspended and you blew the shofar like without using your hands, it's no good. That's the way Rashi explains. I don't know. And you can see even they bring a different explanation. How does the art school explain it? I think that's how the art school explains it. No? Anyone have it? Here. It's on 34A3, right? Okay. Ta'aviru dekamar Rachmana nabre biyad. It's at the very top. As for the word ta'aviru, it could be understood as meaning the merciful is telling us to carry the shofar throughout the land in the hand. 29, footnote 29. Since this segment of the verse does not mention the teruah or the tikiyah, but refers only to the shofar itself, we might indeed understand it as referring to carrying the shofar rather than producing the sound. Thus, if not for the allusion to the closing tekiyah and the passage of the windowless blasts, we would have interpreted ta'aviru as alluding to the closing tekiyah. We would not have interpreted ta'aviru as a closing sound. The beginning of the verse, okay, fine. Yeah, they don't quote Rashi here. Like if you look at Rashi, Rashi says, "Na'bere beyad ve'ilav dehader katve lo hava mishtamat ta'aviru lashon tekiah." Okay, whatever. Anyway, the point is how the word teruah, he's learning that you have to hold it. Maybe not as they're blowing. Now, according to what they're saying, you just at some point you would have to say that you would have to be walking around or crossing through the land on Yovel with the shofar in your hand. Point is, it has to be in your hand. Okay, so coming back to the Gemara, Tana number 1 uses ta'aviru and v'ha'avarta to teach you tekiah before and after. That's from Yovel. Tana number 2 makes a connection to Yovel, but doesn't learn that v'ha'avarta and teruah and v'ha'avarta and ta'aviru means that you should do tekiah before and after because they learned something else from it. Either that you cannot invert and flip the shofar, or and that it means that you have to use it in your hand. The other opinion holds of what Rav Matna says, that you cannot invert the shofar, and he learns it from the fact that it uses this unique word of v'havarta. It could have said v'takata or something like that, but since it uses this unique word, you also learn that it has to be derech ha'avarato, ta'aviru biyad lo matzit amart. But the fact that it says that you have to ta'aviru means that you have to hold it in your hand, you can't say that. He does not agree with that. The Gamar avara mi Moshe. He learns the connection avara, this ta'aviru, from elsewhere it uses the word avara by Moshe. Ketiv hachat da'avarta shofar teruah. It says here you should pass through with the shofar in your hands. It says by Moshe, vayitzav Moshe va'aviru kol b'machaneh. There he uses the word va'aviru as a verb of a sound, not of your hand holding the shofar. The word ta'aviru, is it a verb that's done to the shofar physically, or is it a verb that's done to creating a sound? So you learn by Moshe Rabbeinu, it says va'aviru kol b'machaneh, mal halan kol afkan bekol. It has to be a sound, okay? Okay. Let me just show you this on the screen. So once he's connecting to Yom Kippur, why not learn the tekiah from him also? Because he, like Rav Matna, learned something else from those words. V'ha'avarta means you cannot flip it. Ta'aviru means holding it in your hand. Holding it in hand. Okay, the Hebrew and English is holding it in hand. Okay, now with this opinion, you hold that you cannot flip it. He agrees because it's a unique word, he can learn it. But he disagrees with this ruling of holding it in the hand. He says you're not required to do that. If you were to blow the shofar without holding it, you'd be fine. Okay, there's just one issue. Again, I wouldn't get too caught up on this, but there's one issue. The trumpets in the midbar. How do you know it has to be a shofar? If you're going to make a connection to the midbar, which is how this opinion is learning that you need to have the sandwiching effect, but in the midbar, you're using trumpets. So how do you know you have to blow the shofar? So that's going to be the next question. According to this second opinion, the mighty labe midbar, that learns your connection from midbar, maybe, just as in the desert you use trumpets, on Rosh Hashana you should also use trumpets. You know what trumpets are, right? What's the difference between shofar and a trumpet? Correct. Very good. A trumpet is a metal object. What's a shofar? It grows from the animal. So the whole traveling in the midbar, what do they blow? Trumpets. Chatzotzrot. Parsha Ba'alotcha. It's all chatzotzrot. You're making a connection to the desert. Those are trumpets. So if you're connecting Rosh Hashana to the desert, then maybe you should blow trumpets on Rosh Hashana also. That's the question of the Gemara. Gemara answers, and with this, we're gonna be done with this. Tamolomar, tik'u b'chodesh shofar, b'keseh leyom chagenu. This is a paragraph that we say when? Does anyone know? Recognize this? It's one of the Shir Shel Yoms. It's the Shir Shel Yom of Thursday, I believe. It says on Thursday, Lam natzech halagdil le'asaf, harninu le'elohim uzenu, harir le'Yaakov. Tik'u b'chodesh shofar. You should blow the shofar on the chodesh. What does chodesh mean? The new chodesh, meaning the new day of the month, meaning Rosh Chodesh. Right? Tik'u b'chodesh shofar. How do you know? B'keseh leyom chagenu. The word keseh is having to do with kisui. What does kisui mean? Covered. When it's covered. When is the moon covered? Rosh Chodesh. This is Bakesel Leyom Chagenu, on our holiday. There is only one holiday that we have that the moon is covered. Which holiday is that? Rosh Hashana is the only Chag that we have that the moon is covered. It's the only holiday that we have that's on Rosh Chodesh. So what does this pasuk say? Tik'u b'chodesh shofar. Blow the shofar at the beginning of the month, when the moon is covered on our holiday. There's only one holiday that we have, that's the beginning of the month. And what are you supposed to blow? The shofar. So this opinion is saying, I know you have to blow the shofar from this pasuk in Tehillim. Okay?
Isn't that a weaker proof? Like
absolutely.
A psalm versus like from Torah?
Correct. Because you would say the psalm was written by who? David HaMelech. Actually, it says on Masech Halakidid Asaf. So it's possible it was written by Asaf. Who is Asaf? Could be that he was earlier. David HaMelech, and David HaMelech just wrote something that which was like a known song, so they already knew it from beforehand. That could be. It could be that you would have to say is like everyone had this tradition, everyone knew. David HaMelech recorded it, and you see what David HaMelech recorded was the way it should be. But absolutely, getting a proof from the Torah is stronger than a proof from Tehillim. Okay. 1 second, Nick. I see you raising your hand. Let me just wrap this up, and then I'll come to you. Back to the Gemara. Where to go? Here. Okay. So Talmud Lomar Tik'u b'chodesh shofar b'kesel yom chagenu. Ezehu chag she'achodesh mitkaseh bo. Which holiday is there that the moon, the month, is covered? Omer ze Rosh Hashana. That is the Rosh Hashana. V'ka'amar Rachmana. And this pasuk says shofar. You have to blow the shofar. So just to wrap up with this chart here, how do you know it's shofar? Well, according to this one, this comes from a pasuk of the Torah that says ta'aviru shofar or v'ha'avarta shofar. It uses the word shofar. But according to this one, you have to use a pasuk from Tehillim of Tik'u b'chodesh shofar v'kesel yom chagenu. Okay? Okay, I will say, I'm going to take a break now for Nick to ask his question. But what I will say is, this was a very complicated Gemara for me to learn. So don't cut yourself some slack if you don't fully understand it. The thing that was most confusing for me is you could see here on the screen as I tried to show, you had Tana number 1, then you had Tana number 2, and Tana number 2 branches off into 2 opinions, and that's where you get the confusion because you're explaining the difference between opinion Tana 2a and Tana 2b, and then in the middle, Tana 2a connects himself to Tana 1. And then you start asking questions, and it's like, why are you saying he's arguing? He's not arguing. But then you realize there's 2 separate discussions going on. So I think this chart helps. I didn't see this chart anywhere else. I just jotted this myself on some notes, and I tried to put it on the screen. Okay. Yes, Nick, how are you?
Hey, thank God. How you doing? Is there a special word for blowing the shofar that's different than blowing another instrument?
Is there a special word for blowing the shofar? We would say that the word for blowing the shofar is either going to be tari'u or titkeu, because you're either doing a tikiyah or ta'aviru. Ta'aviru shofar b'chol artzachem. Ta'avarta. It's a word that's used. So there's really 3 verbs, Nick. There's either titkeu, it's used in the midbar by a trumpet. There is tari'u, which is the word TERUAH. It's also used by the trumpet. And then you have ta'aviru, which is different from tari'u, is you have ta'aviru, and that's used by Yovel, by a shofar itself. Would
you say any of those for another instrument, though? When you're blowing it?
We know that 2 of them for sure are used by a trumpet because that's the context of the midbar. Whether the word v'ha'avarta applies to other instruments, I'm not sure. I guess that's part of our machloket, whether it's a unique verb or not.
Yeah, because I was asking that because you were saying maybe it was when they said chatzotzot, maybe they were referring to shofar. So I was wondering if the verb to blow it is unique to a shofar.
We know that the chatzotzot are referring to metal because it tells us tells us how to make it. It tells us the metal that it's made out of. Kesef or zahav. It tells us what it's made out of. Chatzatzot zahav. I think I have to see the exact psukim. You know where the section is. Hold on, let me share screen. You know what? I don't want to get derailed. But yeah, it's a good question about whether the word ha'avara is used by other instruments. I don't know off the top of my head. Okay, but I do want to keep going. We have a around the corner. Okay, guys.
Could I jump in with one question?
Okay, yeah, sure.
The question of how many times do we say it? Saying it 3 times is I don't know who the Sofrim are, but are they ever used as a source?
The Sofrim, for now, for all intents and purposes, it means the rabbis. It's rabbinically added. Yes, there are times that the Gemara tells us midivrei Sofrim. The Rambam tells us midivrei Sofrim. It means the prophets, or it means the rabbis or the prophets, or different. Maybe not the prophets. It means it's rabbinic. The point is, it's rabbinic. There are different instances that sometimes the Rambam makes it seem that Divrei Sofrim is actually from the Torah also. It's a whole discussion in and of itself. For our context, it means rabbinically, but there is more there. It's not something that I want to elaborate at the moment. But yeah, there are times that the Rambam uses Divrei Sofrim for something that's actually from the Torah. So it could be that the rabbis taught us that this is from the Torah. It's not explicit in the Torah, but it's only learned from the rabbinic. But for now, all intents and purposes, we'll say that it's a rabbinic. But that's just one opinion, right? We don't hold like that opinion. This opinion that says 2 from the Torah, 1 from Sofrim, or 1 from the Torah, we hold like this one that says all 3 are from the Torah. That's the requirement that we have from the Torah. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Guys, you ready? One of the most famous Gemarot in Masechet Rosh Hashana. This is one of the most famous Gemarot right now, right here. We're going to do it. You should all know this Gemara because it's very famous, and you should teach this Gemara to everyone when it comes to Tishrei, when it comes to Elul. You should teach this Gemara. It's very simple. 34a. Atkin Rabbi Abahu Bekesari. There was a rabbi, Rabbi Abahu, and he instituted a new rule, a new law in the city of Caesarea. Okay, Kesari. Tekiah, Shelosha Shivarim, Teruah, Tekiah. He came up with something new. What he says is, you remember we had this, the thing in the middle, we said is a cry. It's either like a sigh, like like that, or it's like that. The one that's 3, we're calling it Shivarim. The one that's the small, the crying, is called a teruah. Shivarim, teruah. Okay? So I actually have this on the screen. I made this before. Shivarim, okay, you see here in the top right, you have tekiah is black. 1 long, solid line. Shivarim is 3 broken lines, intermediate, that's Shivarim. Teruah is these many small little cries. Teruah. There is a machloket. Is it Tashat, which is Tekiah, Shivarim, Teruah, Tekiah, right? So it's Tekiah, Shivarim, Tekiah. Is it Tashat? Or is it Tarat? Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah. The Resh stands for Teruah. Which one is it? Is it number 2, Tashat, or Tarat? Rabbi Abahu in Caesarea said, you know what? We're going to do Tashrat. Taf, Shin, Resh, Taf. Do Tekiah, Shivarim, Teruah, Tekiah. That's what we're going to do. The Gemara is going to say, oh, you for sure are wrong. What are you talking about? It's either Teshat or Tarat. So you come and you come up with something completely new, so you guarantee that you're wrong. That's not what it is. We're not sure if it's number 2 or number 3. What are you coming with a new one? So that's what the Gemara is going to say, okay? You ready? Everyone, is that clear? Machloket of whether the thing in the middle should be a Shivarim, which is do, or it should be a Teruah, which is do. So one of those 2. So comes Rabbi Abahu and says, no, you know what? Make it a combo. Do, which is going to call Tashrat. Everyone familiar with the terminology, right? Tashrat is going to be Shivarim, Teruah is the combo. Tashat is the Shivarim, what I have in red, and Tarat is the Teruah, what I have in blue. Let's see the Gemara. Famous Gemara. Atkin Rabbi Abahu Bekesari. Rabbi Abahu came and he made a takana. He created an instituted something. Tekiah Shlosha Shivarim. Teruah, tekiah. You should do tashrat. The Gemara says, manavshach. Hold on a second. Which way do you look at it? If the thing in the middle should be a cry, meaning it should be a teruah, leved tekiah teruah tekiah. So do it tarat. If you wanted to go with the sighing, leved tekiah shlosha shevarim tekiah. So then do tashat. What is this weird thing you're coming up with? It's either tashat or a tarat. Do you hold it to sigh? You do tashat. Do you hold it to cry? Do tarat. What is tashrat you're coming up with? So the Gemara says, he wasn't sure. He wasn't sure if it's tashat or tarat. So the Gemara says, it's either tashat or it's tarat. You're not sure which one it is. Why are you coming up with a third thing? Matkifla Rav Avira asks, maybe it is the crying, which would be tarat. And now you're adding something else that doesn't belong. According to the opinion that it's tarat, you're adding something new in the sound. You're doing tashrat. So the Gemara says, no, the hadar ava tekiah teruah tekiah. You misunderstood. He also does the tarat. The Gemara says, oh, you're telling me he does tashrat and tarat. Okay, but what if you go according to the opinion of Shevarim? Maybe it's a sigh. And if it's supposed to be the sigh, it's supposed to be the tashat. Why are you coming and putting something extra in there? No. He also does tashat. You misunderstood what Rabbi Abahu does. Rabbi Abahu didn't do only number one. He did number one and number two and number three. But now you have a question. If you're not sure if it's number two or number three, and you're doing both number two and number three, what are you coming with instituting number one for? Again, it's completely redundant. You're doing both of them. You're doing number two, you're doing number three. The Gemara asks, Ela Rabbi Abahu, my atkin, what on earth did you institute? What are you coming up? If you're already doing, at first we thought he's coming up with an elegant solution. I have the solution. We'll do tashrat. The Gemara says you're doing tashrat, you didn't do anything. He says, no, don't worry, he's doing tashrat and he's doing tarat also. So if you're doing tashat and you're doing tarat, what are you coming and adding a new thing of tashrat for? So the Gemara says, if it's supposed to be a tashat with sighing, you did it. If it's supposed to be tarat with crying, you did it. The Abahu says, no, maybe it's a combination of sighing and crying all together. Maybe that's what a teruah is defined as. Teruah is defined as the combination of a shavarim teruah. That's what Rabbi Abahu said. So, according to the opinion that it's only a sigh, he's doing it, tashat. According to the one that's only a cry, he's doing it, tarat. But he also feels that it might be possible that it's a combination. So he is coming and saying we should also, to cover our bases, do tashrat, do tekiah, shevarim, teruah, and tekiah. Okay? Gemara says, okay, hold on. There's one more combination. If you want to cover your bases, you could have done one more. What could you have done? Do tarshat. Do tekiah. So do it like this. Do. Invert the in the middle. Switch the tashrat. Make it tarshat. So what is the Gemara asks? Ihachi leved nami ibcha. Also do the opposite. Tekiah, teruah, shlosha shivarim, utkiah. You should do a tarshat. Dilma yalel v'leganach. Maybe you cry, then you say, it would be like, like that. Maybe that should be. Gemara says, Stama da milta. Have you ever heard anyone cry? That's not how people cry. First, it's like, oh. That's how people cry. Ki mitra be'inish milta. When something bad happens to someone, v'reisha ganach. First you say, v'hadar yalil. Then you cry uncontrollably. You don't cry uncontrollably and then do a sigh. The sigh is the beginning and then. So you didn't take it that far. You don't have to take it that far. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, like I said, one of the most famous Gemarot of our entire Masechah. Why? Because this is exactly what we do. You know that this is what we do. With all of this build-up that we did, if we focus just on Yovel, all of this build-up, recall, How many times? Let's go according to the Tana number 1 that says you learn it from Yovel. How many times they use the word teruah in the Torah? 3. So how many times you have to blow the shofar? Just 3. But we learn a rule. What's the rule that we learn? The sandwiching effect. Very good. You have to do tekiyah before and after. So that you have 3 tekiyah before and after. How much does that add up to? 9. That's it. You're done. But now there's a question of what is in the middle. Okay? So looking at the screen, this tarat, if you were to do this times 3, taf, resh, taf, taf, resh, taf, taf, resh, taf, times 3 would equal 9. Tashat times 3 would be 9, because you're not sure if it's a resh or if it's a shin. Tashrat, if you do this times 3, it's another 12. It's really, according to Rabbi Abahu, he's actually saying how this is what should be in the middle. But it's like one thing, so it's really 9, but we're counting it as 2 separate things. So if you do, let me just let's do like this. 2 times 3. So this 4 times 3 is 12. This is 9. This is 9. You added it up to 30. This is what you're required to do from the Torah. That's it. Why? The answer is, you know that you have 3 teruot, so you have to do it times 3. Okay? You know that you have tekiyah before and after because the Yovel or the Midbar, you learn the sandwiching effect. And you know that there's 3 different versions of what's in the middle. Why? Well, we said from our Braita as a machloket of whether it's sighing or crying. And then Rabbi Abahu came and said, and it could also be a combination. So you end up with 30. So Rama, what's your question for me? I'm telling you, for the mitzvah of Rosh Hashana, you only have to blow the shofar 30 times. What's your question? Let me give you an assist. How many times do you blow the shofar in Rosh Hashana? 101. 101. Very good. But I'm just telling you now that to cover all your bases, you only have to do 30.
Why are we doing?
Very good. Why are we doing so much? So it's worth me mentioning this, although we're not going to see it in the Gemara. The answer is as follows. The answer is we do this 30 that's on the screen, we do it before Musaf. This is exactly what we do in Musaf. Before Musaf, we blast 30. We do Tashrat, 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 Tashat, 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 Tarat, Tarat, Tarat. You get to 30. That's what we do when we're standing before Musaf. Okay? Then, that's doing it separately. You did your mitzvah. But then, we also want to have the mitzvah done together with the Musaf prayer itself. Why do you want to do it together with the Musaf prayer? Well, you could say some people are late, but more than that, it's because you have the 3 separate sections of the Musaf of Malchiot, Zichronot, Shofarot. And we learned this out elsewhere. We're going to see it coming up in a few lines that you want to have the shofar connected to the Malchiot, Zichronot, Shofarot. So we get this 30 in the Amidah also. How do we do it? The way our minhag is, there's all different opinions. The way our minhag is you do Tashat, Tashat, Tarat after Malchiot. How much does that add up to? No. Tashat is 4. Sorry, I have 3. Tashrat is 4. Tashat is 3. Tarat is 3. That's 10. So after Malchiot, you do 10. After Zichronot, you do 10. After Shofarot, you do 10. So now we just did our 30 in the Amidah. But then what? We repeat the Amidah. So we do the 30 again as part of the Amidah, as part of the repetition. Repetition, you're repeating, so you do it again. So now we're doing 10 after Malchiot, 10 after Shofarot, 10 after Zichronot. Out of order. But you do, so that's how much? Another 30. So that you get 60 during the Amidah, 30 before the Amidah. So how much is that? 90. Okay? So far, so good. So Rama, how many times do you have to blow the shofar? We did the whole calculation. How many times minimum? 30. We do 30 before. So this way you did your mitzvah. And the truth is, you did it, you're done. But we want to do the mitzvah part of Musaf also. So in Musaf, how many do we blow? 30. And then the Chazara, how many do we blow? 30. So we end up with 90. And that's it. You should stop there.
You fulfilled by doing 30 also.
Correct. You fulfilled by your first 30. The mitzvah fulfilled. Hold on. I only got to 90. You have to get to 101. I'm not done yet. This is like your problem solved. I still have to get to the bottom line, right? I haven't given the proof yet. So how do you get to 101? Here's the answer. The answer is there is Tosfot on the previous daf quoting in Aruch, which I heard quoted as a Yerushalmi, tells us that the mother of Sisra, Sisra, when she cried, remember we said Vateyabel Sisra, is a midrash that tells us she cried 100 times. She did me'ah peyot. She did 100 cries. She cried 100 times for her son. So we want to outdo her because we're learning our words all from her. The fact that V'tayabev means to cry is learned from Sisra because it's V'tayabev Sisra. She cried. So we're crying. She cried 100 times. We cry 101. So we want to do one more than her. So because of that, this is all based on that Yerushalmi. I already got you to 90. So now I need to get you to 101. So what do? You do another 10 during the Kaddish. The next Kaddish, right after Musaf, there's a Kaddish. You do another 10. That gets you to 100. And then the last one is what they call the TERUAH Gedolah. That's done after Aleinu L'Shabeach or before Aleinu L'Shabeach, depending on the custom. That's done at the end. That gets you to 101. If someone doesn't hear that last one, is it a problem? No. If someone doesn't hear the one during the Amidah, is it a problem? The answer is no. During COVID, when there were many people that weren't coming to Bet Knesset, that first year, many people weren't coming. There were people going around doing the shofar blowing. Halacha l'maaseh. If I'm a shofar blower and I'm going to go on 5 stops, I'm going to blow the shofar for 5 different people, my grandmother, my aunt, my sister, etc., my cousin, how many do I have to blow for them? Halacha l'maaseh, we say 30. Because that's all you have to do. The fact that you do 100 is because you're already getting yourself to 90, and there's this Midrash, Chazal, or this Aruch that Tosfot is quoting that Sisra would do it 100 times. Okay, so you do another 11 so that we say we one upped her, but it's not required. Okay, so now you should understand the flow. From the Torah, you have to blow the shofar 3 times. Sandwiching effect before and after makes it 9. You're not sure what's in the middle, so you go from 9 to 30. Including because it's either Tashat or Tarat. And then Rabbi Abba who came and he instituted also Tashrat. So you get yourself from 9 to 30. You do 30 before, 30 during Shemona Esrei, then 30 during the Chazara, you get yourself to 90. And then you top it off because you want to beat the 100 that Sisra, the mother of Sisra, who we spoke about in the previous week. Okay? This is, again, one of the most important or most commonly quoted Gemarot. Okay, yes, question. Okay, very good. We don't blow the shofar during shacharit. We blow it right before Musaf, in the sense that we pray our shacharit prayer, we bring out the Torah, we read the Torah, we do haftarah. We're now before Musaf, we do the shofar. So it really is attached to Musaf. It's not done during shacharit. Now the Gemara on Rabbi Yitzchak asked us, I think it was on Daf Tet Zayin. He asked, why do we do it twice? If you're doing it during the Amidah, why do you even do it before? The Gemara gave this answer of Kidei le'arbev hasatan, to confuse the Satan. At the time, we explained the way, I think the way Tosfot explained it there, Kidei le'arbev hasatan means when we do the mitzvot extra time, so many times, it shows Hashem how much we love the mitzvot and it weakens the Satan. And over there, Tosfot asked, oh, isn't that adding extra to the Torah? And we said to do a mitzvah multiple times is not Baal Tosif. When you add to a mitzvah, you add to the element of a mitzvah. For example, instead of 4 boxes of your tefillin, you put 5 boxes of tefillin. That's a problem. But if you wear your tefillin for longer, or you put it on and not take it off, that's not a problem. You blow the shofar more, it's not a problem. Okay, very good. Yes, question? Yes, MC. We can't go through the story again. It's from Shoftim, which according to the Sisra was a general of an enemy of the Jewish people. The Jewish people, with the help of Yael, a non-Jewish woman, they defeated him. Yael, a non-Jewish woman, killed him. And the text of Shoftim tells us that his mom is at home waiting for him to come home. and all of her friends are there to support her, and she's crying and saying, "Where's my son? Where's my son?" And she's crying, and uses the word vatiyabed. That word yevava is the same word that Onkelos uses to translate the word teruah. The word teruah is translated as yom yevava. This is the verb used by Emes Yisrael when she cried for her son.
Why is that cry so important?
So again, Rama, you're asking about the previous year. I can't go to the whole previous year again. But yeah, but you know what? I'll just give you one bonus that we didn't say last time. The mother of Sisra. So one of the explanations that I read that was very nice is that Sisra was someone that was fighting Am Yisrael, was an enemy, and his mother is crying for him, and we use that to institute our tefillot. So the simple answer is we're just using the words. The word Vatiyabev happens to be used in the text by the Navi in Shoftim by her. So we're just trying to understand what the word is. But an answer that I read is even, however bad Sisra was, a mother loves her child no matter what. And even if a person that's this terrible, his mother at the end of the day is his mom. And the mother feels the pain for that child no matter what. So here we are on Rosh Hashana, and we're saying, no matter how bad we were, you're our father. And a parent, no matter what the child does, even if we are terrible as Sisra, cries for his child. So you also cry for us. So that's one of the nice answers that I read. But again, the simpler answer is it's just the word that's used. This is a nice answer. Okay? Zachita, Rama. I wasn't going to say it, but I said it because you asked. Okay? Very good. Let's see. Okay. I want to cover ground because I really want to see if we could finish this. Okay, here we go. That was, by the way, that Rabbi Abau, right now we just read it. One of the most commonly quoted Gemarot. You got to know that Gemara if you know Masechet Rosh Hashana. Next line. Okay. We learned in our Mishnah, and this is the bottom of 34a, it's the last line. We learned in our Mishnah, Takabi Rishona, Umashach Bishnia Kishtayim. Our Mishnah said that if you were saying you were blowing your tikiyah of your outro, so you did tikiyah, teruah, tikiyah, and you hold down to it, and you rolled into your next tikiyah. So basically, you roll your stop sign. How many tikiyot does that count for? Just one. So if I'm doing tikiyah, teruah, tikiyah, or tikiyah, teruah, tikiyah, and then the ladder of my second one rolls into the first of my ladder of my first one rolls into the first of my second one. Let's just do it like this. Doot, 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 doot. That middle one, I swallow them, I combine them. Our Mishnah tells us it only counts as one. So now, look what Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan tells us, Shama tesha tekiyot etesha shaot bayom yatsa. Rabbi Yochanan is now teaching us a new rule. Rabbi Yochanan's rule is, how much time can you wait in between? A guy does doot, puts it down, goes for a walk, comes back, goes, gets himself a coffee. I don't know what else he does. Maybe he goes, I saw they're looking for people to do security here. The guy comes and does security for an hour, and then he comes back, pauses. Tesha tikiyot, when I say tikiyot, it means including the one in the middle, because you have to do a minimum of 9, right? Minimum of 9. Let's say you do the 9 over 9 hours. Spanned out. That's what Rabbi Yochanan says. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shama tesha tikiyot b'tesha shaot bayom yatsa. You fulfill his obligation, meaning there is no time limit. Tanan Amiyachi. Rabbi Yochanan is an Amorah. We also have a Braita that implies this. And now we turn to 34b, to Lamedal Amabed. Tanan Amiyachi. Shama tesha tikiyot b'tesha shaot bayom yatsa. Exactly the same thing. If you heard the 10 blasts in 10 hours, the 9 blasts over 9 hours of the day, you fulfilled your obligation. Mitish'a b'nei adam ke'echad. If you heard 9 people blowing it at the same time, okay? So imagine you do tekiyah, you do shivarim, you do tekiyah, you do tekiyah, you do teruah, you do tekiyah, you do tekiyah, you do shivarim, you do teruah, you do tekiyah. Ready, set, go. I heard it. Lo yatsa. You did not fulfill the obligation. You can't do it all at the same exact second. It doesn't work. Tekiyah mizeh u'teruah mizeh. But let's say you do tekiyah, you do teruah after he's done, You do tekiah after he's done. You do tekiah after he's done. Yatzah, you fulfilled your obligation. There's no requirement for it to be the same person. This might happen. This might happen by, let's say the guy blowing the shofar is blowing the shofar, and in the middle, nothing comes out. It happens. You know, there are times where there's just nothing you could do. Nothing comes out. What are you supposed to do? The next guy comes in, sub, tag team, tag him, you in, you out, come in, take the shofar and blow it. That's it. And this is the rule, that you could even hear every single sound from someone else. Unbelievable.
One guy just can't get it out. And
Yeah, for sure. It's happened by us. One guy, no matter what he did, no sound comes out. You turn it this way, turn it that way. You do this. By the way, this doesn't help. This doesn't help. But I don't
like unclog.
But okay, if you want to unclog it and you do it like this, I'm just saying, hold on, I just want to put this on the screen. You're just putting the spit more in. If there's spit in there and you're going like this, it's like go deeper. You might want to go this way. Maybe you'll be able to get it out. Yeah. Okay, but it happens. There are times that it happens. That would be amazing. Get 101 people to do it all in one shot. Wow, imagine everyone's gonna be on top of the game. Wait, am I 47 or 48? Which one am I? Yeah. Well, half as many because you can use both sides. Okay. All right, let's go. Keep going. Uh-oh. It's not cooperating anymore. Okay, here we go. Okay. Even if it's split up at intervals, so you do this, come back 10 minutes later, you do that, you do 1 minute later, you do 15 minutes later, it's fine. You could use the entire day. What Rabbi Yochanan and the Braita is teaching us is that there's no time limit. Hold on a second. Rabbi Yochanan, you say that? Omi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Haki, does Rabbi Yochanan really hold that? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, but Rabbi Yochanan said, Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yotzedek, quoting someone else, albeit quoting someone else. Rabbi Yochanan was the one that said, quoting someone else, Behalel uva Megillah, when someone is reading the Hallel, or someone is reading the Megillah, Im Shaha, if you take a pause in the middle, and your pause is long enough that you would be able to finish the entire thing in it, Choser, La Rosh, you have to go back to the beginning. So for argument's sake, how long does it take to read all of Hallel? 7 minutes. Let's say you're reading the Hallel with a bracha. You need to go to the bathroom. When nature calls, what are you supposed to do? You go, you leave, you go to the bathroom. You come back. It was one of those bathroom trips, took you longer than 7 minutes. Took you 10 minutes. You come back out. According to Rabbi Yochanan, who's quoting Rabbi Shimon ben Yotzedek, you have to go back to the beginning. If the amount of break you took was so long that you could have finished an entire Hallel in the middle, then that break forces you to restart. The same with Megillah. If you take a break in the middle of Megillah and your break is so long that you could have finished the entire Megillah, let's call it 25 minutes, something like that, you would have to restart. So now Rabbi Yochanan said you could do the 9 tekiyot in an entire day. Spread it throughout the entire day. And then Rabbi Yochanan, quoting Rabbi Shimon ben Yotzedek, says, when it comes to Megillah and when it comes to Hallel, if you take a break, you need to restart. So lo kashya, it's not a problem. Hadideh, hadrabeh. One of them was his opinion. One was his rabbi's opinion. He was telling you his opinion, but he says, my rabbi actually says something else. That wasn't a problem for Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Shimon ben Yotzedek said that you can't take a break. But Rabbi Yochanan says you can. No problem. The Gemara has no issues with that. Vedideh lo, are you sure? Are you sure that he himself also holds that you can't, that you're allowed to take a break? There was one time at Rabbi Abahu, there was one rabbi. Is this our same rabbi? Hold on, I gotta, because I want to envision him. Wow, Rabbi Abahu was the one who made the takana. He made a takana of Tashrat. So Rabbi Abahu, one time he was walking with Rabbi Yochanan. He was in the middle of saying Shema Yisrael. So Rabbi Yochanan and he were walking. He says, "Oh, Rabbi, I have to say Shema Yisrael." So he's saying the Shema Yisrael, which is a mitzvah. Then they got to a place that was very dirty. It was a dirty alleyway. It was a garbage dump. It stank. It smelled. It was dirty. Ishtik. So he stopped saying the Shema Yisrael. You can't say the Shema Yisrael in a dirty place. How long did they spend in the Mavoi? It was a certain amount of time. So Batar the Khalif, Amarle, so after they passed through this dirty alleyway, Amarle, so Rabbi Abahu asked his rabbi, Rabbi Yochanan, Mahu ligmor, can I just finish off or do I have to restart? So Amarle, so Rabbi Yochanan said to him, Im shahita kedei ligmor et kula, if you paused the amount of time that it would take to finish the entire Shema Yisrael, Chozer larosh, you need to restart. So you see, Rabbi Yochanan told it to us, quoting his rabbi by Hallel and by Megillah. But then there was one time that Rabbi Abahu was walking with him. He asked him, what should I do for Shema? And he told him, if you paused long enough that you could have said the entire Shema in that time, you got to go back to the beginning. So you're telling me that, by Shofar, where he says you could take the whole day, it's his opinion. But by Hallel and Megillah, it's just his rabbi's opinion. What about by Shema? He himself wasn't quoting his rabbi. He told Rabbi Abahu that if you pause long enough, you got to restart. So the Gemara says, again, that wasn't his opinion. This is what he tells Rabbi Abahu. Ledidi, according to me, lo svir ali. I don't hold that you have to restart. So you're asking me, do you need to restart? My answer is no. But ledidach, according to you, the very fact that you're asking me this question implies that do I need to restart or not? You're saying, if I waited long enough, I need to restart. But what's my time? The svir alach im shahita kedei ligmor et kula chozer larosh. According to you, you waited long enough. You need to go back. So here is Rabbi Yochanan. The Gemara is telling us that Rabbi Yochanan held of this opinion that you're allowed to wait as long as you want for shofar. And even though by Hallel and Megillah he quoted someone else who said that's just his rabbi's opinion, and even though by Shema Yisrael he told someone else that you have to go back, he's saying that's just your opinion. It's almost like an Ashkenazi and a Sephardi. If you ask an Ashkenazi, a Sephardi comes and asks an Ashkenazi a question, and the Ashkenazi knows the answer for a Sephardi, and he tells him, it doesn't mean that that's how he holds. He's just saying, I know your opinion. I know who you hold like. You hold like this rabbi. You hold like this rabbi, you should do this. But I don't do it myself. Okay?
The question is, why is he walking and saying Shema?
Excellent question. You're asking why was he walking and saying the Shema Yisrael? My guess is he was walking and saying Shema because he was walking with his rabbi. So imagine you have Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is going from one place to the next. You're escorting the rabbi, for example. And as you're escorting the rabbi, it came time to Shema Yisrael. Let's say it's like a 20-minute walk. He says, Rabbi, you mind if I say Shema Yisrael? Do I mind? You're kidding me? Of course. Of course, you have to say Shema Yisrael. Say the Shema Yisrael and starts getting a whiff of something smelly. So he stops. And then he says, Rabbi, should I continue? And he says, depends. You go according to that opinion. Yeah, you're according to that opinion, right? So you waited long enough. Yeah, go back to the beginning. But me, I would say you don't even need to. Okay, very good. The last section of this Gemara, which is what I want to cover, because again, foot on the gas, Tanu Rabbanan. We learned in a Braita. There are times you have to blow the shofar not on Rosh Hashana. Let's say on fast days. This is TBT to our Masechet Ta'anit days. In Masechet Ta'anit, we learned that when there would be times that would be fasting, you have to blow the shofar. The Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita, Tekiyot in me'akvot zo. When you have to blow the trumpets, if you missed one, it doesn't disqualify the other. So like, let's say you missed the first set, you should still do the second set or still do the third set. Okay? Berachot ein me'akvot zo. So too, there's a lot of additional prayers on the blessings that we say on a fast day. Masechet Ta'anit goes through it. You would add an extra 6 berachot. If you missed one, you should still say the others. They're independent. The shofar blowings of a regular fast day are independent of each other. If one of them doesn't work out, you should still do the other. The blessings that you see on a fast day are all independent. If you, let's say you forgot one of them, you didn't have a Siddur, and I don't know this one. Should I do it? Okay, do the other 5. Fine. Tekiyot u'brachot shel Rosh Hashana v'shel Yom Kippurim me'akvot. But the blessings and the tekiyot and the shofar blowings of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they do invalidate each other. Meaning, if you only did some of it, you have to go back and you have to do all of it. If you only did some of it, you did not fulfill your obligation. The shofar blessings, additional blessings, the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur do invalidate each other. Why? Here's why. Amar Rabba says, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem tells us, Imru lefanai b'Rosh Hashanah, Malchiot, Zichronot, Shofarot. On Rosh Hashanah in the Musaf prayer, I want you to say all of these I want you to do all of the blessings of Malchiot, Zichronot, Shofarot. You can't just do one of them. You have to do all of them. Malchiot, why do we include Malchiot? So that you make me king, you inaugurate me as king. We just had last week that King Charles, it's the first time in over however many 100 years that the England did this. It's a big deal. That's what you're supposed to do on Rosh Hashana. This is Melech Basar Badam. This is Melech Melchim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the King of all kings. You have to coronate him. So you do that by calling him the king. That's the Malchiot section. Zichronot, to understand that I remember everything and that I should be remembering you for good. Uvameh, and what will you be doing to help with all of this? The shofar, with the shofar. It's all going to be done with the shofar. So what you're seeing here is that you need to do all of these three sections, and they need to have the shofar, and they will invalidate each other. Right? So this is what the Gemara is telling us: is that brachot, tkiyot, me'akot zozo. So, for example, they're essential for each other. In footnote 12, according to Rashi, the meaning seems to be that the king should remember the shofarot blessings and the shofar blast must accompany each other. If the blessings are recited without shofar blast, or the shofar is sounded without the blessings, neither obligation has been fulfilled. This is why what we said is that it was enacted to have the shofar as part of the Amidah, even though you already fulfilled your obligation. Because of this, you want to go ahead and do this. The Rishonim object strongly to this interpretation, noting that the Gemara explicitly states explicitly below that one who is faced with the choice between hearing the shofar and hearing the extra blessings of Musaf should choose to hear the shofar. Clearly, the two things are not related, not essential to each other. The Rishonim therefore explain the clause of the Braita as stating two laws, in conformance with their explanation of the first clause. The three extra blessings are essential to each other, and the various shofar blasts are essential to each other. Thus, someone who is familiar with only one or two of the blessings should not recite them, and one who can only blow the tekiyah but not a TERUAH should not blow them. This is the way that there's a machloket between Rashi and Tosfot. Rashi says that the tikiyot, the blasts and the brachot are essential to each other, but the others argue and they say no, they're not. What it means is that let's say I only know how to do a tikiyah, and I know how to do a shivarim, but I don't know how to do a teruah. Do I say, okay, at least do the tekiyah part. At least go do it. Let's say I don't know how to do the things in the middle, but I know how to do the thing. Should I at least do that? The Gemara says no. You didn't gain anything. Just doing a tekiyah by itself, you didn't gain anything. Tekiyah needs to be sandwiching the teruah. If I only know how to do the teruah, which wouldn't make sense, but you didn't gain anything. So too with the blessings. Let's say for the Musaf prayer, your Sidur, the pages of Malchiot were ripped out, but you still have Zichronot and Shofarot. Should you say this? The answer is no. You need to have it as a complete unit. You don't say two is better than nothing. It's all or nothing when it comes to the blessings of Musaf. It's all or nothing with the types of the tekiyot that you have to play. Right, and these are the different halachot that we learn. Be'ezrat Hashem, gentlemen, we are up to midway through Lamed Dalet Amud Bet, and the Masechet ends on Lamed Hey Amud Aleph. We have about an Amud left. It's very likely, and I'm gonna send a message to the chat. It's very likely that next week will be our final week of the shiur, which I think would be phenomenal, because then we'd be going into Shavuot, having completed this Masechet. That would be that would be ideal. And then maybe the following week or something we could do a siyum. But we can't do this during the siyum because we still need another shiur to finish this. We'll leave off the last line or something for the siyum. So Be'ezrat Hashem, my hope and goal is next week's shiur. We're concluding. We're going into the Shavuot, having finished this Masechet, and then Be'ezrat Hashem, in good health, we'll start the next Masechet. I just want to take 1 minute to talk about the next Masechet, if that's okay, with your permission. I've thought about it a lot. We've learned Masechet Megillah. Let me just stop screen and share. We learned Masechet Megillah, which was 32 daf. We learned Masechet Tanin, which was 30 something daf. Masechet Rosh Hashana is 35 daf. These three Masechtot were great because they were good, exciting, fun topics. Rosh Hashana had some difficult topics with the moon. To me, that's the most exciting out of all of them. But they were all in the mid-30s, low to mid-30s. Took us about 2 years each. We started in April of 2021. Here we are in May of 2023, 2 years and a month later. Each of those took about 2 years. What's next? If I'm aiming for something similar, I could do Masechet Moed Katan, which is the mid-30s. A lot of it has to do with Avelut. Half of it has to do with mourning, laws of Avelut. We could do Masechet Chagigah, which is in the mid-30s. A lot of it has to do with korbanot. Not as practical. I would like to do something more practical. Going through all of the options, we have Masechet Betzah, which is around 40 pages. We have Masechet Sukkah, which is around 55 pages. We have Masechet Berachot, which is 64 pages. I've thought about this a lot, and I've taken a lot of input from different people. I very strongly feel the next Masechet we should do is Masechet Berachot. Masechet Berachot. Oh, we got one. I see you look disappointed, Rama. I'm sorry. Okay, for you, I'm going to give you an individual class on another Masechet. But no, the reason I say Masechet Berachot is because it is extremely relevant. All of the laws of Tefillah, all of the laws of Shema Yisrael, all of the laws of all of the Berachot. There's things of Halal, there's things about mitzvot. There's so many relevant things for your day-to-day life. That's a Masechet Berachot. There's a lot of fun things as well. And I think the only thing that we need to somewhat sacrifice is we're not going to do a siyum in 2 years. It's 64 pages. At our pace, maybe we'll do a siyum in 4 years. Now, there are possibilities that I might say, let's put the foot on the gas in one place or another place. We'll do it in 3.5 years. But you have to sort of change the focus of, it's not about finishing. We as a group finished 3 Masechtot. We finished Megillah, Ta'anit, Rosh Hashana, finished a lot. If we're just going to try to keep strapping for things that we're going to finish, I think we might be losing on perhaps some of the better learning quality. So I feel strongly that we should do Masechet Berachot. Be okay with the fact that it's going to take us a little bit longer. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll do it in 4 years. And then we could think about the next one. Then maybe we'll go back to a shorter one. So that's, as of now, what I'm thinking. If anyone has any comments, if anyone wants to go on strike, speak to Rama. If you guys have a nice lobbying group and you become powerful enough, I might have to change my opinion. But that's what I just wanted to let you know. That's where my head is at the moment. Okay? Shavuot, great. We'll see you next
Thank you,
week.
Rabbi. Good night.
Chazak Baruch, Shavuot Tov.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.